Hey there, it's Rachel Mullins, the host of Hashtag No Filter Fridays on Public House Media.
Disarming disability.
Hi, I'm Nicole Kelly, and I'm a speaker and an activist.
And hi, I'm Sarah Tuberty. I'm an occupational therapy student, a flight attendant, and an aerial artist.
We both live with a disability. We both were born with a congenital limb difference and are hosts of a new podcast, Disarming Disability, coming to you on Public House Media.
So come, learn, explore, and understand disability so we can deconstruct these social stigmas and really build a more inclusive society.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or at publichousemedia.org. Come hang out with us every Wednesday. Also follow us on Twitter at DisarmDisable, Instagram and Facebook at Disarming Disability, and check out our website at disarmingdisability.com.
Bye!
Welcome to the C. Jane Sell podcast,
a relatable sales podcast for your weekly dose of sanity. I'm your host, Chelsea Dupre.
and I'm your host, Lee Nevis. All right, welcome back.
Here we
C.
go.
Jane Sell. We have a really, really incredible guest here with us today.
The amount of excitement cannot be measured.
It cannot. It 100% cannot. We have been waiting for our good friend Sarah to come on with us for weeks now.
Yes.
And we are so stoked. So today with us we have Sarah Ferrell. She is the GenX girl. And we're going to talk today about one of the first things that Sarah and I ever talked about and why we met and why we ended up making such a great connection. We're going to talk all about burnout.
Yes.
Today, because oh my gosh, it is so real. It is so real in the sales world, in the business world, in every aspect. In life.
All
And
the things.
yeah. So we're really excited. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Good. So we have a little icebreaker question first.
Okay.
So before we go on and delve deep and talk about our battle wounds from life, icebreaker question. If you could have any superpower, what would that be?
It would have to be being invisible.
Ooh, that's
I
a
like
good
it.
one. That's a really good
like
one.
Well, and maybe a lot of people would say that because it sounds really fun to just be invisible. But I have 2 kids and my husband owns a restaurant and I work full time. So to be invisible for a couple minutes would be really, really nice.
Think of the pranks you could play, though.
No, just
You could.
I'm out. I'm not here. You don't see me. You don't see me.
When they know if someone's actually getting hurt, because you're there, but they don't think you're there.
I used to tell my kids, when you see me, I'll be there. If you don't see me, I'm not there. So there's the answer.
I love that. You could really learn some things too if you're invisible. You could sit in on
Real life things.
real life things like meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
This is obviously the first place my mind goes is how can I make this benefit me in my professional career? Being invisible.
I could break into their building. I wouldn't get in trouble. They couldn't catch me on their cameras, and then I could sit in the meeting. And anytime they talked about my competitor, I do something spooky in the room. So they'd be like, "This is a bad sign." And I'd be like, "Yes, it is."
I've got what I need. I'm out. Right?
Yeah. And then I'd go in their room at night and I'd be like, "I am your conscience." And they'd be like, "What is happening?"
I love that.
That really got weird.
Nope. I love it. I love when we get off topic and talk about being ghosts. It's awesome. So Sarah, what, the reason you're here today, obviously you have an insane amount of experience in the business and in the sales world. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started, how you were pretty much just a boss lady.
Okay.
Which I hate that word, but
Well,
we'll use it. You were totally a boss lady. So what's a little bit of your background?
Well, I started out in my early 20s in sales. I started working first for a radio station, which was very cool. It was one of the most fun jobs I've ever had. I wasn't in sales there, but I ended up getting promoted pretty quickly in the DJs that were there, and at the time it was a very big station in Louisville where I live. So it had a lot of hype, if you will, in the city. So to work there right out of the gate was really fun. So from there, because that station was sold, I did go into kind of a sales support role. And I did that for a few years, and I thought, I know what these people are doing. I'm helping them get prepared to go sell something. They're just taking what I'm doing and talking to the client. I can do that, and they're making a heck of a lot more than I am. So I had an opportunity with a manager that was a part of a sales team. He came to me one day, and he started knocking on the door, and he said, "Do you know what that is?" And I said, "No." My head is in the paperwork here. I don't know. He said, "That's opportunity. Do you?" I mean, you think maybe I would have known that? That's what he was going to say. But
Very original.
yeah, that literally is what's happening here, Sarah. I want you to be a part of my sales team. And I said, I was scared to death, because as easy as it was for me to sit back and go, "Oh, look at these salespeople. They're making so much money, and they hardly work, and
Taking people to lunch.
oh,
Entertaining clients.
they work out in the morning and come in and talk to a couple people, and they're making all this money." When it came, in front of me, and I had to make that decision for myself, it was terrifying. But I said, "Of course, yes. When can I start?" So about 2 weeks later, I was officially in sales for his team, and had literally zero business. I thought I had just been handed something so great, which I was. It was a wonderful opportunity. It was just, here's, you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to, talk about being green. I knew how to talk to clients, and I knew the product, and I knew whatever in the world came in front of me, I was going to be able to do it. So I thought, well, that's all I've got. So I'm just going to go out and do it. So I had to get clients. There wasn't a client list that I managed and then got new business. It was, "Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm starting from zero."
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
And maybe everybody does that. For me, it didn't. There were other people that I was in business with, if you will, that didn't have that situation. They were, maybe it was inside sales, or they kind of walked into a book of business and took it from there. So at the time, I was I felt a little beat up, but I thought, well, looking back, I will say I'm so glad that happened, because I created something out of nothing. And
Pretty cool.
at the time, I didn't know that's what I was doing. So I can remember getting on these, this is going to date me a little bit, but on these green bar reports that were printing on this huge printer, I would get my commission reports. And little by little, I started, I remember the first commission check I got was $75. And I thought, oh my God, I've done it. And it was $75 because
That's amazing.
I was living on just my salary. That's just the way financially I wanted to live. And anything else was a bonus. That's what it was supposed to be, as a bonus. So fast forward from there, because of my just sheer determination to be the top salesperson, honestly, I think it was a gift that was handed to me. It was just innate that I wanted to be the top person. And here I was, again, brand new. There were reps that had been there for years, had millions of dollars that they were managing. So I thought, well, here I am now, but you're going to be eating my dust. And I loved them. I mean, I didn't say it out loud to them, but I thought it.
Yeah.
So I kept digging in, and I literally did the work. There wasn't a bypass. It was do the work. And lo and behold, the sales team changed around. Somebody left the company, and all of a sudden there was business. There were clients that my manager thought I needed to handle. So that was a windfall for me when that happened. I was promoted. I started handling a whole book of business. It was hard. It was really hard. Even though it was a win for me, it was just so much.
Yeah. About how far in were you when that happened?
I was in sales 5 years, I think, when that happened.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty quick. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
5 years sounds like a long time, but it happened. It felt like it happened pretty quickly.
Oh, for sure.
And then right after that, 2 years after that, I was 7 years in, and I was asked to handle one of our largest customers for the whole company. Nationwide, not only did I have responsibility for the revenue for the corporate entity, but all of the franchisees, and there were other salespeople like me in the country that did not report to me, but I was the team lead. So they would come to me and I would help them sell to their franchisees. So, I think I was 27 when that happened.
Oh, wow.
I know. I mean, saying it now, it's really hard to believe.
Yeah.
Because, at the time, it just felt like, as scary as it was, it's a progression. Of course, this is what I'm going to do. And, absolutely, I should be the team lead of this business. Mm-hmm. So I started flying to Vegas and doing shows for the franchisees, and I was all over the country selling our products to these business owners, and it was awesome. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. And I just kept doing right by the client, and that kept rising to the top. There were other reps, executives, that I worked with that maybe were in other markets or even in my office that didn't, I won't say never put the client first, but it was few and far between. Mm-hmm. And I would see them struggle. I struggled too. It's just hard because you can't control what clients do. Mm-hmm. So
unless your mind control is superpower.
Unless you're invisible. Unless you're invisible, right. And you can get all the secrets and then use those to your advantage. Yeah. So I was big time. I'm very humble, but it was, a position and a status within the company at the time that was up there, and it felt amazing. Mm-hmm. I was making my commission checks. I mean, I won't even say them. They were great. And just, again, knowing that the company, it was never about money for me, which sounds funny because when you go into sales, right, you think...
It's typically why you go into sales.
Well, that's why, yes. Yeah. And I would hear other people, talk about, they were with a calculator, figuring out everything they sold, every order. How much is this going to go, what is this going to translate to in my bank account? And I just never looked at it. I would get the commission reports and go, oh, cool, I'm going to put that aside. Oh, cool, I'm going to put that aside. And just kept living on my salary. So I guess as far as a background, that is, I very quickly worked my way up. And from there, I just kept going. I got another position that I really loved that was, instead of being in charge of the client directly, I was asked to come in and help other reps, similar to the franchise business I worked on, but it was all different types of businesses. And I would come in and it was cool because I didn't have to do all the prep work. I just got to come in and sell it, which I was the closer. And,
Dang.
There's...
I was going to say that's boss. The closer.
I don't rarely pat myself on the back, but...
We should need to change your name to the GenX Closer.
Closer girl.
Closer girl.
Yeah, I like it.
Because not everybody's a closer, and you see people in and out of sales. I mean, there are so many people that I tried to help them. I did. But they just, for whatever reason, good people, they just couldn't get there. And I didn't feel like I had any advantage over them. Mm-hmm. We all have different abilities. We all have different... I mean, when I was actually the closer and closing deals, it didn't feel easy. It did not feel like, oh, I'm the closer. I'm going to walk in, and no matter what, it is going to happen today. That was not my mentality in the least. I always thought, again, I kept the client first. It's all about them. It's not about me. It's not about my company. Mm-hmm. It's about them. Mm-hmm. And anytime I veered from that, which could happen because companies try to make it about themselves.
Oh, completely.
Reports.
Mm-hmm, reports. Sales, I need you to fill out this report because we need this other report. So fill this out first since you're filling out reports. Yeah. I mean, it just, wow. And with shift in leadership, that happened a lot. in 24 years that I was at that same company. Just it depended on who was driving the ship. But I would say, moving my way up through the company was, I want to almost say it was something I knew that was going to happen. I just didn't know how. And I didn't think, even when I felt really hot under the collar, because I would get so much more responsibility, I still never thought, well, I can't do this. I'm going to tell them it's just too much. I never thought that. So I just was like, pile it on. Just keep it coming. Oh, you want me to do that? Okay, I'll do that. I mean, it was like I was the not just the closer. I'm going to stop repeating that because obviously I'm pretty proud of it. Because it's dang hard. So
It is.
I know.
I could print T-shirts and wear them about it. That's how hard it is.
It really
So if you're in sales or in business and of anything, it's difficult.
Well, and to sidebar on that, because we do talk about sales and everything, I think one of the biggest hidden secrets to being a closer is asking for the business.
Yeah,
You gotta freaking ask for the business.
Yep.
You're a closer. I can hear
Sidebar,
it.
closed. Press on.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
You have to earn the right to be in the meeting to begin with, and then ask for the business.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can do all the things, but until you say, listen, I'm a big girl.
Yes.
I can handle a no. I'd love a yes, but we
Right.
ain't got no time for maybes.
What do we need to do? I'm happy to move on to somebody else.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I used to use the close the file tactic. It wasn't really a tactic. It was just I would get like I'm an adult. I've got thick skin. If you don't want to do this, let's move on.
Yeah.
I have other things to do with my life.
Yeah.
So I would literally communicate. Okay, I'm going to close your file. When you're ready or you have other questions, I'm here. I'm yours. Until then, bye-bye.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how, well, wait, what about this, or this? It's just this negotiating, the people that I was calling on, that you call on, they're paid to negotiate. That's their job. And when you realize, okay, it's just this, and I actually went to a negotiating training, and then I went to another one that was a kind of a step up from that. And I learned so much in that, down to if you're going to buy a car or whatever it is, as a consumer, it's not about haggling. It's more about it was balancing power. So I know you're important. I wouldn't be sitting here if you weren't, but so am I. And what I have is valid, but I have to prove that to you, and I get that, so I will.
Yeah.
And if we can't get to where we need to get, then it's okay.
I'll show myself the door.
I love that.
Thank you.
And it's literally just your job too. Is like, I think a lot of people are scared to offend people. Or like, oh my gosh, like I feel like if I say this, like I'm gonna make them mad. Like, no, you're not gonna make them mad.
No.
It's your job, and they know it's your job to ask for the sale. They know that. They're not gonna be like, oh, how dare her ask for my business. Like, you know what I mean?
Wait a minute.
Like, no one's gonna get mad at you. I think so. That's a really good thing to keep in mind.
Well, and when you say what everyone is thinking out loud, that was something else I really loved. I just was me. Just be you, right? People can say that as a tagline all day long, but unless you do that, it just doesn't. People will pick up on it.
I can tell if you're being genuine or not.
Yes.
Oh, completely.
Oh, from a mile away. From a mile away.
I think that's why that whole thing, like bumbling salesperson, because like we all were bumbling salesperson. Like, oh shoot, I tripped. Oh, I dropped that. I'm sorry.
I know. I forgot my pen. How do you forget your pen when you're a salesperson?
Not
I used to do it all the
silent.
time.
I know.
Can I borrow your pen? I need to take notes about what you're saying.
I took so many notes. My ink ran out. I definitely didn't forget it.
My ink right now. That's how much business I do. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks.
Oh, I have stories. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
hilarious.
We're gonna have to do a second podcast with Gen X. Okay?
Yeah. Yes. This will be
I'm
Gen X
in.
part 1.
I'm in.
Love it. I love it so much.
So when did you start first realizing that you were starting to get burnt out?
Well, I think it was probably, I'm going to say 12 to, I hate to use this big of a range, but probably 12 to 15 years in. Because I had been with the company, over a decade. I had gone to the top of the mountain and, I'd done so much. And I started a family. And it was that time in my life where I thought, you know what? I could really take this. The next step is VP level. And the VPs that I worked for they were never home. They traveled constantly. And that was one of those times where I thought, okay, well, I can play it small. Small meaning, which I hate to use that word because it wasn't small. It was important, but it was, at that time in my career, people, I think, were looking at me going, okay, what are you going to do next? Yeah. So I didn't have the heart. I did take a job when my son was like 6 months old. I was having a lot of trouble within my sales team with some things, just weird things going on. It was just one of those times that some new hires and different things that were changing within the company. So anyway, this whole new division was growing, and they asked me if I wanted to join them, and it sounded so cool. That was when I went in and was the closer. That's all I did. So anyway, that lasted only a year, and because I'm such a reliable, if you want me to do something and I'm really good at it, I will do it probably till I die. I used to joke and say, I'm going to have a cane sitting at this desk talking to clients about this stuff. I literally could see it happening. So to do that for a year was really hard for me to go. I raised my hand and said, I cannot. I was always in the airport, and my child it just was a sickening feeling. So at that point I knew I kind of went back to kindergarten, if you will. I still handled pretty good sized clients, national clients, but I wasn't at the same level as where I was headed. So by doing that, I really started to feel that burn, to a crisp, and it just started getting like, oh, I want to be here. I'm kind of good at this, but I've been here, done that. It was so, and I did that for another 10 years and feeling that way. Gosh. So the burnout just started making a life of its own. I didn't even know who I was anymore. I was caught up in being a mom, and that was my number one favorite job. It wasn't a job. It is hard work, but man, it was everything to me. So I just looked at my job as, it's just hard when you have a drive and you've done so much in your career in a quick amount of time to kind of cap it. I just kept capping it. Like, okay, I got to keep it in this fence because I want to be the best mom I can be. So it never occurred to me to go, maybe I should do something different.
Yeah.
Why didn't I just have the confidence at the time to go, you know what? I can go a little bit different here and maybe just get a refresh, just something new. But within my company, it was so sales driven at the time or it still is, that it just wasn't possible. So I just stayed and stayed. And I would coach. I can remember during that time feeling so depleted, and other reps would come to me in tears, and I would say, oh my gosh, sit down, here's what you need to do. And I would tell them like I knew it all, when I wasn't doing any of it myself. Like, you've got to turn your phone off. Turn it off. Put it away. Physically, put it away when you go home. That was number one, because as soon as they gave us mobile phones, that was it. That was it. 24/7.
Oh my gosh.
You can't leave work.
Yeah.
Even if I wanted to. I didn't really want to. It was just there, and we're humans, and if a client emails you on Saturday, then you email them back. So I did that for way too long. Not anymore, though.
Oh, the reality.
It's a harsh reality. And it's one that when I said the word confidence, I cannot stress enough how much I learned of what not to do. And that was, you know what? I had a client one time ask me, in fact, if I could meet with him on Christmas Eve. He said he didn't say Christmas Eve. He said December 24th. And I remember thinking, well, I don't know about you, but the whole world on December 4th pretty much is celebrating Christmas Eve.
I'm making cookies for Santa, pal.
Yeah.
And he knew I had children, and he had children. I'm thinking,
Gosh.
so that was a turning point for me. Mm-hmm. That conversation with that man on that day was a turning point for me. I mean, when I said no, because I didn't say no. I never said no to clients.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to fly to New Mexico? Okay. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
So when I told him, no, I don't think I can make it on the 24th. I'm going to be with my family.
There's this thing called Christmas Eve. I don't know if you've heard of it. They make like big trees and lights. This super awesome, like jolly old man. He wears red. Comes down your chimney, bro. Yeah. And like sometimes he brings like presents for your kids. It's weird. It's really
happens
weird.
every year on that same night.
They even have like commercials for like sales.
Sometimes.
Like that Thanksgiving thing, the day after Black Friday, you can get really good deals for Santa.
There you go.
To buy your kids things, or you, or your wife.
Oh, that Thanksgiving thing, that other holiday that
most people are like paid on that day off, and they get to stay home. They have this big parade. It's really weird.
That's crazy. Well, I think that thank the Lord that at least you had a wake up call though. Like I think if
Amen.
you say that was your turning point, like you had a turning point, and like that is like what led you to realize like, oh my gosh, like I for sure am like burnt out on this, and I am like
miserable.
Giving way too much of my life, mentally and
absolutely.
like, to this job and to this career. What do you think that if someone feels like they're starting to get burnt out, like what do you think that they should maybe look for or advice that you would give to them? Yeah, telltale signs that maybe not just you, but maybe like a friend of yours or a coworker of yours that you see like maybe struggling. What would you say like are a few signs?
I would say it starts with the physical appearance of someone. I remember seeing people, and I was the same way. I really looked in the mirror. I was pale. I was exhausted mentally. I wasn't doing hard labor, but I was absolutely and utterly exhausted. Mm-hmm. Bags under my eyes, just all of it. And so if I had friends, which I did in my sales office, that they looked like they just wanted to cry. They did. They cried at any given moment. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is the sign. That's not normal. Mm-hmm. And people would say, well, you're not a good salesperson if you don't have an ulcer. Well,
yikes.
That's what I heard when I was starting out, and that,
There's so many issues with that statement.
I know.
I want to scream.
I'm like,
I want to scream.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Really? And being able to say, no, that doesn't work for me, but let's do this. When you're trying to sell someone something, it's that drive that your leaders are, I always felt like a racehorse. And just somebody was on my back. Just, if I slowed down, they were going to hit me until I got faster. Mm-hmm. And it just, I never could slow down. Just let me slow down for a minute. Because I'm already going to go faster than you would even dream of me going.
My slow is your extra fast.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I'm trying to win this race, but you're going to kill me to do it. Mm-hmm. It's not, no matter what people tell you or what you hear and what you see other successful people doing, it's not sustainable. It won't work. It ended up putting me into a place that I didn't even know existed. I mean, physically, talk about, literally my vitals were probably not where they should have been. So that's just physical. And then there's the mental capacity or lack of. I was just
completely.
I had nothing to draw from anymore. I couldn't go to the well and say, okay, I got to get what I need for today. I was depleted. And so when you see yourself fall down like that, you go, well, of course I did. I mean, what human being can sustain that? But you do when you're starting out, or even if you've been in it for a while, because so why, you want to raise your hand and say, this doesn't work for me. But you think, well, if I do that, then I'm not going to be successful. Or there's so
They'll
many
see
ways
me
you
as
can be
weak.
successful. Yes.
Yeah. That's so true. There are so many ways to be successful. And if something's not working for you, then you need to change it. I wish, like, I just came from a job that I feel very, like, I was getting so burnt out. I mean, I was, like, crying in the bathroom 3 times a week. I had, like, freaking, like, heart palpitations. Like, I was, like, so stressed out, but I was like, no, this is my passion. Like, this is just what it, like, I have to grind, and I have to I have to pay my dues. Like that mindset of, like, no, you have to go through the bad to get to the good. Like, I think now that I'm out of it, I'm starting to realize, like, oh, actually, no. Like, you can actually just have a good job. And obviously, it's not going to be easy, and you have to work really hard in whatever job that you have. But you can work really hard in a healthy way and still take care of yourself mentally and not, like, absolutely, like, lose your sense of self while doing so.
Which is what happened to me. I hate to say that out loud, but that is what happened to me. I didn't know what I know now, which I'm so glad we're talking about this, because that is amazing. If I could help just one person, 10 people, hundreds of people, I don't know, thousands, I mean, let's just go big.
Exactly.
Millions.
Yes.
Millions and millions.
Understand that, okay, if this starts happening, you just got to go this way. And there's no, you hear people say, oh, they started a business, or there's so much online, these motivational speakers, and if there's just all these tips for success. Well, that's great for them. But like you just said, Lee, if things aren't if things aren't adding up and you're crying in a bathroom 3 days a week, that's your wake-up call. Stop it there. I kept pushing through. I just was like, this is what I got to do. And I kept pushing through those emotions and just went down. It was
slippery slope
to a crisp. Yes.
So, like, what would you say, like, if somebody's going through, maybe they're going through a burnout, but they don't know if it's them and their job, or if they're just, I need a vacation. You know what I mean? Because I feel like sometimes, what if you are really good at your job and you do like your job, but you've worked so much, you don't want to necessarily go somewhere else or go into a different industry. You're just like,
that is a great question. You need to take a vacation. That is my answer.
You mean an annual trip is not okay?
Yeah.
I mean, biannual is what I'm saying. And you can't take your computer, and you can take your phone, but you cannot work while you're there.
Yeah.
I did that for my entire career. It was like a badge of honor to take your computer. I mean, you're like, yeah, I'm going on vacation, but I'll check in, and I took conference calls. My family was so over it, but they were like, well, she's good at what she does, and ha ha ha, and
you're such a businesswoman. That's so
I know, isn't that great?
I'm just like, you're right. It's awesome. I'm amazing.
Yeah.
Bring me a sandwich, Mother.
I mean, it's laughable to me now, but I really thought I was, that I was doing exactly what I needed to do to get ahead. I will tell you, I could have gone on vacation and still been just as successful. You can work too hard and not smart. And I was successful, even though I burned out. But if you enjoy your job, but you just are exhausted and you're finding yourself, I mean, you're going to know something's not right.
Yeah.
Then that's when you go, okay, I got to reassess. Am I on my phone at night? I stopped. This is when I actually had the wake-up call. I stopped looking at my phone after 9 p.m. At first it was 10 p.m. I'm like, well, that's silly. 10 p.m. I'm trying to go to bed then. So it's going to be 9 or it's going to be 8. And then I moved it back to, you know what? I'm going to have dinner with my family. And then after that, I'm not going to look at my phone. And I mean, it took me weeks to master that.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, you want me to do what? And I was telling myself to do this. So I could have easily said, well, nobody knows I'm doing this, so I'll just look at it tonight.
I'll just eat one cookie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nobody will
100
know.
calories, I mean.
No big deal.
So I thought, well, this is life or death, Sarah. I mean, I had to be that in my own face about it. or because I felt it. I was going to a place where I didn't know I was going to come back from, and that was not going to happen.
What about that affected your marriage, your
It
kids,
affected my marriage.
your family?
Do you know that when I decided to leave that career, or the way that I was working, let's be real about that. Now, there are times where you're in a certain company and you need to leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're just on the other side, you don't know how to turn it off, and you're just literally a spinning top constantly. My family, when I resigned from that company, I thought they were going to be devastated and, oh my gosh, we can't believe you quit, and what are we going to do now? Yeah. They were jumping up and down, thanking me. My children thanked me and said, please don't ever do that again.
Oh,
and they never said a word the whole time.
Wow.
Before that, they were so respectful
That's
of me.
amazing. That's
It's
really
incredible.
Cool.
I mean, it kind of breaks my heart, but I have to go, okay, Sarah, you were always number one with them. They were always number one with me. So I'm not going to beat myself up about it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I went too far, and here I am. And I put my hand way up in the air and said, Mama's done. And I don't know what's going to happen next, but it won't be that. It won't be that again.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to do. You've got to say, here's the boundary. No phone at night. In the morning, this is something else I did. I used to get up as soon as I woke up, before I was even awake, and look at my phone.
Like you can't even really see, and you're like, oh,
couldn't even see the dang thing, and I'm checking it. Why?
Yeah.
What in the world? Because possibly, unless I just won $2 million and they've emailed me about it, that's
called a scam.
I wasn't supposed to. Don't pursue that. Oh, shoot.
Don't click on the link. Whatever you do.
I was waiting for it. Please send me this money so I can. But honestly, or sincerely, those two things, and it was all about that phone because it pulls you in, your energy, your soul,
everything.
So I didn't look at it in the morning. I thought, talk about hard. It took me a long time to do that too. But I would wake up and I would stretch a little, and this sounds like, oh, come on, Sarah, just get up and start working. Come on. No, I did that. And we see where that got me. Yeah. So anyway, I would just get ready or spend a little time, eat a little something. Wow, I felt like a human being. Like, oh, this is what a human being feels like. It should feel like. It was amazing that literally the color came back to my face. My hair was actually falling out. It's really embarrassing, but it was. My body was like, all right, you're not listening, so we're gonna
make you.
Yes.
Yep.
So again, don't let it get that far. Start making changes now. You don't put the boundaries up, nobody else will. Who else is going to do it for you? Your family can say, well, this is getting too much, you need to reconnect, but will you really? Especially if you don't have kids yet.
Oh, for sure. And I love that you have given examples of very realistic little changes that you can do, because we have all been there, and we've all, as soon as I've got out my phone and I've seen I had an email from 6:30 in the morning that someone has emailed me, and I feel like I have to respond to it right away. No, people will understand that usually people don't get into the office until 8 or 9. If you don't respond to them until you get into the office, no one's going to be mad at you. It's just taking the time, setting yourself, stretching, making breakfast, whatever is going to help. Gonna help you get in the mental space, because that's such a good, just practical, easy thing that you can implement.
But it is so hard to do.
But
it is.
It is.
I want to be the first to respond. I want you to know that I'm thinking about you at all times, and I want to do everything that you need, and I'm gonna be there for you, and I want to be your consultant. I want to be the go-to girl. I woke up and you're on my mind.
Do you know? Yes. Yeah, that makes me nauseous. Really, but It's so true. 'Cause
Chelsea,
I
we
did
brought
it.
her here for you.
This is an intervention.
This is an intervention, actually.
We didn't tell you ahead of time, but well, that's what it is. That's an intervention.
Where you lock the door?
Yep. This is
Cool.
yeah.
Well, and your career will change in a good way when you do that, because people will start to respect you more.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember thinking, oh, maybe if I get to him by noon, then that'll be okay. I have other things to do, and I did. I'm a person. I have a life. Just it was convenient for them to send that email at 6:30. It's convenient for me to respond at noon. I mean, you know, you just have to get into that mindset. It's not a flip of a switch. It took me probably 6 months before I mastered some of those things. And man, it was cool. I mean, my hair stopped falling out, and I could see color in my cheeks. So
That's all you can ask for.
don't wait till that. That's all I would tell anybody. Do not wait until you get to that point.
I love it.
So.
We've gotten so many good golden nuggets
I know.
from this conversation.
Part one.
I know. I've got so many more. You just ask me. I'll tell you.
Well, speaking of more,
Yes.
great segue. We understand you have a blog.
I do.
Yes.
Me, myself, and I.
Yeah. So tell the people where they can find you, what you're going to be talking about, all that good
Yes.
jazz.
Yes, absolutely. So it's thegenerationxgirl.com is my website. And
cute.
I'm laughing a little bit because I've always wanted to be known as that girl because of when I was born, and then just having this sales career and all that I've done. I feel like I still relate to people starting out or somewhere in the middle. So I just still feel relevant in terms of how I can help people. So that's the website, and then I'm writing a blog which I post through my website or publish through my website. That I really have I'm talking about my story, where kind of I started, not from the very beginning of time, but my career, family, different things that I've experienced that I hope. Even minimalism. I've really been studying about that for a few years now, and how that changed the course for me. I'm not, I don't live in a tiny house, but I think that would be awesome. So, I mean, there's just things that I talk about that I'm hoping are broad enough, but specific enough that will really give someone, okay, I can do I've been there, I can do these 2 or 3 things, and maybe it'll help. I mean, I'm coming from a place of, I'm very honest, here is what I've experienced, here's what I did, because I was in the hole. I mean, I was in the hole. So if you're not in the hole yet, don't go there. Try these things. And that is why I started it. And I honestly, it is for no other reason. At this point, this is going to sound funny, but I don't know what it means other than it is my calling. I want to help people. And if I do by them reading this, then I've done what I set out to do.
That's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
A lot of people look for that void filler.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
they do.
My grandma calls that ice cream.
Now that is good too.
There's a real golden nugget.
I mean, sometimes you gotta say, I'm tired of depriving myself, so today it is ice cream.
Eat that ice cream.
This episode is your bowl of ice
Yeah.
cream.
Yes.
The cracks.
And
Any flavor you want.
Yep. We'll make sure to link Sarah's website so you can find her, thegenxgirl.com, read her blog, subscribe to her. She's incredible.
Follow her and get yourself some pizza at Fat Jimmy's.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my
Yes.
gosh.
We haven't even talked about that.
We have to just side note. Fat Jimmy's is an incredible restaurant in Louisville that Sarah's husband owns.
Yes.
And it is like straight up like the best freaking pizza and Italian food you will ever eat in your entire life. If you haven't been there, Just look it up, Fat Jimmy's. It's in
Fat
was
Jimmy's
it
Pizza in Middletown.
Middletown? Yeah, in
I'm gonna
Middletown.
go and I will post a review.
Chelsea's
Yay.
literally
We'll
going
do it
tonight.
live. Why
Yep.
not?
We'll do Insta Live at
Actually,
Fat Jimmy's. So.
not tonight. I need to like.
You're having ice cream tonight, so pizza tomorrow.
I need to get my lashes filled before I go live.
Yeah, I got you. We'll go live at some point.
Okay, it's gonna happen. Though.
Exactly. Stay tuned. Next week we're talking to Cynthia Williams, 502 Fit Pass. She's incredible. Subscribe, rate, review us. We love you. CJ and Cell Podcast. Instagram. That's the name of our Instagram, at CJ and Cell Podcast. And we will see you next week.
Get it, girl.
Bye.